In the small English town of Ashford, there was an old mansion on the hill called Greywood House. Most people avoided it because they believed strange things happened there. Doors were said to open on their own. Lights sometimes appeared in empty rooms, and at night, people claimed they heard footsteps when no one was inside. Despite these stories, a young journalist named Daniel Harris decided to investigate. Daniel was 26 years old, curious, and always searching for interesting stories for his newspaper. He did not believe in ghosts, but he believed in facts and evidence. One morning, he arrived at Greywood House carrying a notebook and a small camera. The mansion looked large and silent, surrounded by tall iron gates and old trees. As he pushed the gate open, it made a loud, painful sound. Inside, the garden was empty and covered in dry leaves. The front door was slightly open, as if someone had entered recently. Daniel felt a strange feeling but continued walking. Inside the house, everything was covered in dust. The air was cold and sunlight came through broken windows. As he explored the hallway, he noticed something unusual. One of the doors at the end of the corridor was locked with a heavy metal chain. On the wall next to it, someone had written a message: "Do not open this room." Daniel felt his heart beat faster. This was exactly the kind of mystery he had been looking for. He took a photo of the door and tried to open it, but it did not move. Instead of leaving, he decided to search the rest of the house for clues. In the library, he found old documents about Greywood House. The house had belonged to a wealthy family called the Moretons. According to the records, the youngest son, Edward Moreton, had disappeared 20 years ago. After that, the family left the house and never returned. Daniel began to connect the story with the locked room. He wondered if Edward had been trapped there. As he continued reading, he found something even more interesting. A former servant had written a diary entry saying that strange noises came from the locked room every night, even after Edward disappeared. The servant believed someone was still inside. Daniel felt a chill but refused to give up. That evening, he returned to the locked door with tools he had brought from his car. He carefully examined the chain and discovered it was old and weak. After a few minutes, he managed to break it open. The door slowly creaked as it opened. Inside the room was complete darkness. Daniel switched on his flashlight. The room was small, with a broken bed, a desk, and scattered papers everywhere. But there was no person inside. Only silence. Daniel began to relax, thinking the mystery might be over. Then he noticed something strange. On the wall, there were fresh scratches, as if someone had tried to escape recently. He walked closer and saw words carved into the wood. "I am still here." Daniel stepped back quickly. Suddenly, the door behind him slammed shut. His flashlight flickered. The room became colder. Daniel turned the handle, but the door would not open. Panic began to rise inside him. He shouted for help, but no one answered. Then he heard something, a soft breathing sound from behind him. Slowly he turned around. In the corner of the room, something was moving. Daniel raised his flashlight, but the light dimmed. The figure stepped forward. It was not a ghost. It was an old man, weak and frightened. The man looked at Daniel and whispered, "You shouldn't have come in here." Daniel was shocked. "Who are you?" he asked. The man explained that he was Edward Moreton, the missing son. He had been trapped in the room by his own family after discovering a secret. Years ago, Edward had learned that the family fortune was built on illegal deals. When he threatened to reveal the truth, his relatives locked him inside the room to silence him. They told the world he had disappeared. But in reality, he had been living in secret for decades, surviving with little food and water passed through a small opening. Daniel could not believe what he was hearing. He helped Edward sit down and promised to get him out. With effort, Daniel broke the remaining lock from inside the room and opened the door. Fresh air filled the hallway. Edward slowly walked outside for the first time in many years. The sunlight hurt his eyes, but he was finally free. Daniel reported everything to the police. The Moreton family was investigated, and the truth about Greywood House became public. The mansion was no longer a place of fear, but a place of history and truth. Edward was taken to receive medical care, and slowly began to recover. Daniel's article became famous and changed his career forever. But he never forgot the moment he opened the locked door and discovered that the real mystery was not a ghost or a spirit, but a human being who had been forgotten for 20 years. And from that day on, Daniel always believed that some mysteries are not about supernatural things, but about secrets that people try very hard to hide.